Bonsoir tout.
Good evening, everyone. It is 7 o'clock. I would like to call the meeting to order. I don't know if you have anything to add to the agenda. We had one addition for the agenda. Yes. I know it's not a normal practice for the council meeting, but if you will allow us, it's the matter of the derelict boats that we have in the community, especially at the Comville and Sonyville wharves and here behind the municipal office. So we just want to have a discussion on this subject under new business. If you all agree with that, I need a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Councillor DeVoe, seconded by Conseiller Como. All those in favor? Against? Motion is carried. Under 3, declaration of conflict of interest. Does anybody have any conflict with the items on the agenda? If not, we will go on to number 4, presentations. Liette Como for Juniper House. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. Can you all hear me?
Right.
So my name is Liette Camo. I work with the Juniper House. I am the bilingual outreach worker. As a bilingual, it's one of the positions in Clare, my office at CIFA, where Le Courrier was, and this has only been here since June. Juniper House has there are 4 different offices in the Tri-Counties: Digby, Clare, Yarmouth, and Shelburne. I'll talk a bit more about that, so I will start the presentation. Juniper House is a refuge for the women and children who suffered abuse. It is a safe and comfortable place where the women can change their lives and live with their children. I worked there for a while during COVID, so I have experience on what it is to work in the house itself as well as in the office. The installation was constructed in 1863. There are rooms that can accommodate 15 women and their children. There is a playroom, living room, kitchen, computer that they can use, and a room for gifts and a little bank of furniture. There is a playground behind the house. It is a big house which is completely encircled. Nobody can go in or out without the worker letting them in. There is a barbecue outside also, and games. That's what the Juniper House looks like. In the first photo, it's the living room. The second one is the kitchen, and the third is one of the bedrooms, and the other is the playground. I would like to say that it's always that clean, but sometimes it's busy. So the services with the Juniper House, there is a crisis line 24/7, 7 days a week. You can call on Christmas Day, any day at all. There's always someone there. It is a safe environment and comfortable that they can stay during 6 weeks. But now with the housing crisis, it's more than 6 weeks. We do not throw anybody out unless we make sure they have a place to stay. There are a lot of primary care necessities. There is a welcome basket. When they arrive, we have toothbrush, toothpaste to give to the women. We have psychological support. All services are free and confidential, and there are 4 proximity bureau offices. The services, what I do here at the office, it's support counseling to try and understand the violence and make changes. I help the women either when they have or have been abused in the past, or they think it is something they are going into that they notice. So wherever they are in their path, I can help them. If they don't want to leave the relationship, that's fine too, but we are there to support. We can help them to plan security. We can brainstorm on where it is that you don't feel safe, what we could do to try to change that. We can try to accompany them to legal aid and the police and the family tribunals, and different services that are offered, and emergency protection and help for subsistence, family services and housing. So I can connect them with all kinds of meetings with these professionals. If they don't have a car, I can drive them there myself. The women don't need to stay at the Juniper House to access our services. That's why there are outreach workers. The women don't have to be oriented to access to the services. It is a self-referral organization where the women themselves call to access our services. For example, a doctor or a nurse cannot call to say that they have somebody. The lady herself must give us a call to go see her. So what is a typical day at the Juniper House? Every day they help the clients to fill in requests for housing, lawyer assistance, revenue assistance. We help them to make rendezvous for their meetings. We give them community resources to respond to their needs, and we complete the program. For the programming, an example of what we can talk about is safe relations, self-esteem limits, affirmation of self, effects on the children, types of abuse, and the cycles of violence. So this is what the cycle of violence looks like. Usually there's a tension building phase. That's when a person feels a bit minor incidents that they live through daily or even every hour. After this takes place, it can last a day, it can last a year. The time is not important. There is usually an explosion that happens. That's acute battering. And the next phase is the honeymoon phase. The abuser feels sorry and is apologetic. They can make promises that they don't want to make. There is hearts and flowers, and it can go from one time to another. So there is the type of abuse. There is physical abuse, sexual abuse, where there is non-consensual at a character attitude. Verbal and emotional abuse, and that is a lot like gaslighting. It can go through psychological abuse, financial tactics that is limited to the partner or to the needs of the family. So that's why a woman would stay in a relationship. So that can be for financial support. Since COVID, every cost is going up because of COVID, and it's easier to stay with a partner for financial reasons, but sometimes they don't have the families around them to support them. They have to pay for their children. Sometimes they are scared, and they have hope that the person can change. So for the time that the woman is in danger is when she leaves the relationship. So it is very common that's when they are more scared, is when they leave the relationship. Statistically, that's when they are
Okay.
in more danger.
Between the 1st January and 31st of December, Juniper House has received 3,094 people, about 258 per month, or callers. The proximate service, 1,404 visits, 65 friends and children stayed at Juniper House, and the proximate services worked with 179 women. So who can help? Who are we working with? Number one, we're working with the RCMP, the Juniper Health Band for homeless young people in Yarmouth. Shift House, a place for parents, a service for the protection of children, child projects, mental health, and older patients. So it's good to know the resources that are in your community. We don't know when we'll have to present for a person that we know. So I do a lot of connection building with these people. So how can we aid when we see if there's somebody near you who is in an abusive situation? We can help sustain them, tell the person that we're there for her, and take her feelings seriously. Encourage the woman to break the isolation, to work with transition personnel, to study different options, and also to motivate them to voice their concerns. People are all would have. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? Thank you. Do you have questions or comments, Councillor Como? I don't know if it's every year, but Juniper House, they ask grants to the municipality, to grants to organization. And often when these organizations from outside ask for financing, we're asking ourselves if there are people who go to Juniper House, does it affect the people in our community? Do you think it affects people in our community? Do you have a lot of clients from Clare who go there? Yes. Juniper House is for the Tri-Counties. My position is new since June, and the reason I have this new position is because the studies in 2009 and studies have shown that there is a need for French regions to have a bilingual person in the Tri-Counties. So there is enough people who are asking for these services to justify a bilingual person there. I guess my question was, and I don't know if there's a better way to ask us, are there people in Clare who go to Juniper House? It is possible. It's not something I'm comfortable in discuss, but it is possible. It's a confidential question, so I can't discuss this more precisely. It's good to know that there's a service here in the community, because there are other questions. Councillor DeVoe, thank you. I have two questions. Was, what is your job? But you answered that. The other question was, says Juniper House is for only women. Is there a place for men who are abused by? Well, I know there's none in Clare, but are there any in the area for men who are experience abusive situations? The RCMP is good to connect them to resources. I don't know if there's some directly in the Tri-Counties, but there are place for that. For example, there was a lot of people who experience abusive relationships and income assistance at Ship House in that's for youth from 16 to 20. And if it's a youth, that there's a lot of services available for younger people. Other questions or comments? Just to look at the statistics that you gave us for 2022. It's sad that the statistics are so high, but according to these statistics, the tendency that we see, the Juniper House in Yarmouth does have the capacity to answer all the volume of calls, and no, it is not big enough. It's always full, and even at that, competent people. There are people who can come during the daytime, but they can't stay there overnight because there's not enough room, but they can come and go during the daytime in the house. So we have a lot of turnaround and turnaway calls that we refer to Bridgewater, Kentville, or other places that are full most of the time. Councillor Goda. Do you know if your statistics are consistent with the other places in the province, or is it higher at this end of the province? I'm not 100% sure, but I know there's a lot of people who go at different locations in the province to see if there are more services available. I know HRM has a lot of requests. So are there other questions? I have just to, if somebody comes to see who wants aid, can they contact you directly, or do they have to go to your office, to your new office? Yes, they can phone me and go to my office. I'm there most of the day, most every day. That's how I have my phone number, 902-0339. You can either phone or show up. Is your office open most of every day from 9 to 4 or 5? Yeah, you don't need any appointments. It's 8 to 5. It's not open on Wednesdays, but the other 4 days of the week it's open. But the crisis line is always open. Thank you very much. It's good to see that we have a hub, an office, and a bilingual office in our area. It's sad that it's a need, but it's good to know that this service is available here in Clare. Thank you. So that goes number 4. Goes up to number 5. Adoption of minutes. November 15, 2023, regular council meeting. Did you see any errors or omissions in this one? If not, can somebody proposed by Councillor DeVos, seconded by Councillor Goda? All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. 5.2, the meeting of council and committee meeting on December 6th. By Councillor Como and seconded by Councillor Douza. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried.
Okay. We're at item 6, business arising from previous council meetings. We have nothing there. We are at item 7, the Warden's Activity Report. A small report for you tonight. On November the 20th, I was in a training session for the governments of CDNE, and November 26th, I was at the Dumping Day celebration at the Bellywells Cove. There were a few councillors there. It was a nice afternoon. They put some buoys on the gazebo. It lightened up the celebrations. On November 29th, I had the audit committee of the CDNA and the regular meeting of the Villa Acadienne. On December 3rd, I attended the lighting here of the Christmas tree. Most of us were here. It was a nice evening. We could give our list to Santa Claus. On December the 5th, I attended to a lighting march organized by Inclusion Clare at Le Petit Bois. The ukuleles were there to play some music all night. And on the 5th, I also attended a meeting of the REND and the Oversight Committee Liaison. The Director General made an overview of the future of REND, the projects that they have planned. On December the 8th, I attended the regular council meeting of the CDNA. On December 9th, I attended the Firemen's Christmas Banquet in Havelock. They had the service awards. On December 12th, I attended another training session for the board of directors of the Villa Acadienne on governance. It's a trend for this year. On December the 6th, I went skating with Santa Claus at the rink of St. Anne's. Jose Asimo was there also. On December 18th, I attended to a meeting with Mike Galloway, the Parliamentary Secretary for Fisheries and Oceans, and the Coast Guard, with the mayors and wardens of the municipalities in Southwest to discuss the worries that we had in the letter to the Minister of Fisheries, Diane Lebitelier. So they gave us an overview of their efforts that they have done in this summer and where they were at now. There's not a lot of detail. I didn't think much changed, but we could express our concerns as a community, and they talked a bit more about the elders who will be trying to do something, a different approach for the eels and the programs that they are focusing on. That's my report. Any questions or comments? Councillor Godet? So they didn't look concerned for the lobster fisheries? Department of Fisheries, that is. They were concerned. They talked about the efforts that they made during the summer, but they did not go into detail in the approach on what they will do more. There is no details. They're still in discussions with the bands, or a lot of discussion with the industry also, but they did not go into much detail. They are opening the doors to communications. If we want to go back and forth, we can talk more and more, but there is not much solution coming out yet. Anything else on this? If not, thank you. We are up to item 8, official statements from members of council. Does anybody have any official presentation tonight? No? We are up at item 9, correspondence. 9.1, Pamela Melman-Shand for the Public Works of Nova Scotia.
Dated November 7th, 2023, regarding the gravel portion of the 2nd Division Road between Sonyville Road and Mazza Road. We continue to evaluate roads for future highway improvements. At this time, we are not upgrading gravel roads to chip seal. I have asked local staff to continue to monitor the condition of 2nd Division Road and carry out maintenance as required. If you have any further concerns, please contact me. Sincerely, Pamela Melman-Shand.
Do you have any comments on the answer from the letter? Do we want to defer this to the new year? Councillor Gameau. We could bring the points at the next meeting with them. Put it on the list. We already gave this list to Santa Claus, but surely we can do a newer one. But we will put it on the agenda. We want more frequent dialogue with them, so it'd be something to put on the list. Councillor DeVoe? It's not the answer that I would like to see, but it's good that we did get an answer, and sometimes it takes a long time to get things done, but at least we know where we stand on this. Thank you. Any more questions or comments? If not, we will go to 9.2. Honorable Pascal Saint-Onge, Minister of Canadian Heritage. Mr. Warden, I thank you. I want to thank you first to sharing your comments and preoccupations regarding the financing of the Acadie National FAT. I know at what point the vitality of the Francophone communities and Acadian communities are important to you, and I want to assure you that these are priorities also for me and my government. In the past 5 years, the financing of the Acadian National celebrations allowed the Government of Canada to support 65 community celebrations that touched over 200,000 people. In 2019, the federal budget gave a supplementary financing temporary for the program, including an annual amount of $500,000 for the Fête Nationale de l'Acadie. In 2021, this financing was renewed for the period of 3 years, which ends at the financial 23-24 fiscal year. The Government of Canada recognizes the importance of noting the Acadian people contribution in the Canadian culture. On October 18th, I had the pleasure to confirm an extra $250,000 for the celebration communities, and that is above financing of $4.6 million to support the Congrès Mondial Acadien that will be held from the 10th to the 18th August in 2024 in Nova Scotia. Again, I thank you for bringing your preoccupations. As you, I have the promotion of the Acadian culture in mind. I invite you to remain. We thank you for your interest. Honorable Pascal Saint-Onge. Thank you for that. Are there any questions or comments on this, Mr. Godet? So it's half of what it was before, the amount for 2024. The $500,000 that we received before, half of that went to the La Société Nationale de l'Acadie to celebrate the August 15th celebration, and the rest was distributed to the communities across the Atlantic provinces. But since they already gave us $4.5 million for the Congrès Mondial, they put this year $250,000 more. The community part is still there, and the communities have access to it. But that was what we worried about before, was that that amount would not be available to the communities, but it will be. So my interpretation of the letter is that for 2024, it is an exceptional year because of the Congress, but that's how it is structured that way. So I see it as a positive. I don't see it as if we had lost something, but it's support to the Acadian community.
Are there any other questions or comments on this topic? If not, we bring it to Roland Jean, President of La Boule Acadienne. Monsieur, the Executive Committee of the Committee de Boule Acadienne would like to thank you once again for the financial aid that you have given us for the last years because of your your monetary conferences, we have been able to organize interior sessions, workshops to promote this type of sport in Clare District High School. Some of our members who knows how to teach this were available with young people. But the Alain Telford Taillefer gave a stage workshop of 25 hours of a course. The 14th and 16th November last year, our crew has given training to students of grade 7, 8, 9, and assisted also teachers to have the results are more than positive according to the teachers, and allow us, since December there will be an activity that will be recurrent. The people who have access to this equipment, the Boule Acadienne will start in December with workshops will be given to with seniors. We're assisted by the people who are in recreation sector. Another planification of this type of workshop has been foreseen to have such workshops at the gymnasium at Université Saint-Anne. The new material allows us to develop this type of sport during winter months in interiors places. In the future we hope to keep on working with and extend the Parabo teachers there to invest in this sports discipline in these schools. So we thank you again very sincerely and assure you to create new occasions to develop this type of sport. We thank you very sincerely for this. Roland Chaume and Alain Gerard and Serfina signed. Are there questions or comments on this one? It's good to see that there are people interested in this type of sport. So 9.4 Penny Spit, purpose of the district of Shelburne. Essentially, I won't read all the letter, it's quite long, but earlier this week the province of Nova Scotia did a consultation regarding the offshore wind energy, and from what I understood after discussions in which I was partaking and that we exchanged with the municipality of Shelburne, is the only one that wrote to the province regarding their preoccupations regarding this and their priorities regarding all of this offshore wind technique. The focus of the letter was mostly focused to assure that the royalties that will come from these investments of this industry, that the municipalities should not be excluded in the discussions regarding this. The royalties will goes to the province and the province, but there has been no consideration for the municipalities. And I know that people who were having these meetings, the commentator, were surprised to see that there was not more municipalities who wrote a letter to question or to express their deception regarding this. So I just want to put this here this evening as information to council, and our letter will be on the website for those who want to read it. But it's also a question I had. Does council wish to answer them? Should we send them a letter, or do we agree with the content of the Shelburne letter, or do we just want to sustain their letter, or do we have other concerns or discussion to put? So I just wanted to see what's your opinion and whether or not we should go forward with a letter. I don't know what you think about this. Do you have any questions or comments, Councillor DeVoe? Thank you, Mr. Warden. Is this the same principle as when Digby had worked on this offshore? We didn't get involved when Digby did it, so, or is it not the same thing? The same type of situation? The only difference was Digby was tidal, here it's wind, offshore wind. I mean, it's the same principle, but it's two different technologies. So we can either kind of sustain this letter talks in terms of power and equity, the cost of electricity in this end of the province, the capacity of the grid. It will add more capacity to the grid. It speaks about the benefits that could come to the municipalities, especially since we have an infrastructure on land to sustain the wind turbines that are on the ocean. So it speaks also about the impact on the fishery, and we want to assure because we're a community where the economy is based on the lobster fishery mostly, to assure that this will not be forgotten when we speak about these infrastructures. So these are the points. Like I said, I was surprised to know that there was not more municipalities who had written about this. So I just wanted to see if council here wants to proceed or take the time to get more knowledge before we write a letter. Shelburne is not in the REN. I know the REN had a discussion on this topic of the grid and the capacity of the grid, so maybe it might be good to send a representative from council to meet the REN, because Shelburne is not a member of the REN. The cutoff is in Barrington, so if the REN, maybe we could work more closely with the REN, because they haven't done a lot of work regarding energy requests. So it might be good to ask them what they think before we question these reports. So we're gonna refer this way of going. So correspondence, we go to number 10, the CAO report. Thank you. Just a quick update on the project for the Clare Health Centre. The exterior framing is being done now. It's going well. The framing from the new section will be done soon. The interior of the existing part of the building is being done right now. We're also working to start work to have the building watertight with 10 glass rasts and cover the windows. This will start at the beginning of January. We had hoped to be able to start at least in December, but it has been put back to January. Talking to the contractors, we're still talking about a partial handover on April 1st. This will be mostly the first level where the doctor's offices are located. We're gonna try to put doctors in the new offices as soon as they get done, not only in the old section of the building, but a few in the new part also. The challenge here is to how will we balance the HVAC in the new province. We need the HVAC, so the mechanical engineers are working on the HVAC question. In terms of budget for the project, everything is going ahead forward in a nice way. We're in a good financial situation. We have not had any Lots.
For the Veterans Center, we are working on the design, schematic design. The floor planning that I presented a couple of weeks ago, we are looking at that. We made some changes, especially on the flow of the building and what it could be without sacrificing the space that we have available, like the big room, the kitchen, the studio, etc. The revisions that we made, I think that everybody who is involved in the project, it's a better fit for what we are looking at. We are looking at options also on materials, the wood, the steel, the pre-engineered versus a traditional renovation. For our strategy on procurement and contracting, we are looking at, and I will bring you more details when it comes, but essentially now we are looking at the possibility of offering two packages. The first would be a package for the foundation and the outside of the building or the outside walls. It would be a pre-engineered construction. The second package would be the setup inside the building, electrical, mechanicing, and all that. But as I said, these are just discussions at this point. And for financing, we submitted our request to ACOA about a month ago, since the last time we spoke in November, since the meeting in November. But we had a few questions, but I did not get any news. So I think that the content seems to be so far satisfactory to ACOA. So I think that that process is being made at presently. For the sidewalks in Mid-Hagen, I'm happy to finally tell you that the tender has been announced. It's on the websites. The closing date for the tender is January 18th. We tried to put it more earlier, but we did get some calls from contractors telling us that with the Christmas celebrations, it did not give enough time, so we extended it. We were targeting the 12th, so we pushed it by about a week to the 18th. We received our permit. We have it on hand. With Public Works, we are ready to start the work. We also requested funds from the province for capital growth program to help with the cost of the project, because it's been a while since we are trying to go ahead with this project, but the prices have not gone down, they went up. So the updated quotes from the engineers have been looked, and we submitted a request to the province. For Sunset Road, the sewer system extension, we have nothing there yet. We will have a meeting or have a discussion with the owner to go ahead with this project. For the Wentworth Park renovations are finished. The last claim to ACOA was submitted last week. The project, as we had approved it here at the council, we completed all the elements of the project. The province this week came out with some programs, one being the Community Accessibility Program. It's through Nova Scotia Community Culture and Heritage. If you remember, we talked about an accessible kayak launch, that we could have renovations later this winter or in the spring to include this small infrastructure to the park. We also looked at a footbridge not far from where you start on the trail, and that bridge is not big, but it is not at all accessible. So we are looking at a quote to update our quotes for the kayak launch, but also a quote to redo that bridge to make it accessible, because presently it is not. So the Community Accessibility Program, The deadline for a request for funds is February 14th. It's not a complicated process. The program can finance 2/3 of the eligible costs of the project, up to a maximum of $50,000. We think it would be a good fit to include these two elements to the park and leverage our investments. So we will work on this request for funds at the beginning of the new year, and I will tell you more at that time. Our Clare Argyle Acadian Tourism Development Project, that's the signages, interpretive signs that we have. There's not much update there, but the project is going well. We are on schedule. There have been no preoccupations so far for this project. The track and field work, I had confirmation that the work has restarted. The university submitted to us a revised deadline. After these deadlines, and I'm talking about the lighting for the track and field, with the new deadlines, the work would be completed at the end of January, on January 26, 2024. For the new fire hall in Hectanuga, the project is essentially completed. All that we need to do, we are saying that we would look at the purchase of chairs and tables for the comfort center as we did in St. Bernard. So we are looking at prices for that. There's also the purchase of an alarm system. It's not the municipality doesn't take care of the monitoring, but we are looking at a water softener. So we need a water softener for the iron and the manganese. So we asked for quotes for these elements also. I think it's something I can present to you in January, but the rest of the work is done, and the building is available to the firemen of Hectanuga when they will be ready to move in. The cultural hub for the commercial heat pump at the second floor, the work is still being done for the installation. Last month I mentioned that we plan to finish before the holidays, but I think now it's at the beginning of January. The ductwork was a bit more complicated. The old buildings don't have straight lines, so there was a lot of work. The fire services review, I'm still writing the tender. It's almost done. So that also I should be able to present to you in July for your approval, and then we go to CFA and take out the tender. The park at Cape St. Mary, I don't know if you are all aware, I spoke with Yvonne, but our lighthouse in the windstorm, we lost the whole roof, the steel on the roofs. So it all ripped, and the picnic shelter was also damaged, the roof there. So our building inspector went to evaluate the damage. So we have a contractor looking at that, and we are looking at what needs to be done. And the uncertainty would be that it took out the steel, but normally it would have, the bolts would have stayed, but in this case it's the steel and the bolts that have been removed. So we are wondering if the structure itself of the building, we'll have to investigate a bit more to propose a solution to make sure that it doesn't happen again. We know that there are winds at the Cape, so if we have to do it again, we want to do it so that it stays.
Coast Guard phoned me this morning because they were on the site, and they did a courtesy call to tell us that we had no more roof. We knew it already, but in our discussion with them, their equipment and the interior of the building is still okay, intact. No water came in, and there's no damage inside the building. It's really just the metal roofing that was blown off. I think that will be, because of the moment, it will cost us. We'll probably reclaim this by insurance, and we'll see in the coming days and months. Sustainable Communities Challenge Fund. Just to let you know that the date was, we work with two organizations in the municipalities and the Villefosco Development Commission and the Société Historique de la Baie-Sainte-Marie to help them to ask us grant approval, and this was submitted before for the dates, and we are waiting for answers from this. It's to replace the 5 bridges that were destroyed by the storm surge last year, and the Société Historique is ameliorations for the site. Finally, financially, at the 30th of November, the municipality had 10,782,134 in revenue versus 8,896,000 in expenses, for a surplus of 1,885,618. As of November 30th, 2023, the municipality had a balance of 3,863,708 in its operating fund, 465,144 in its capital fund, and a total reserve balance of 3,677,973. That last of 3.6 much is broken in the following: the operating reserve 2,462,182, the capital reserve 208,727, the landfill closure reserve 354,927, and the gas tax reserve 652,137. And for the gas tax, there's still a new income that will that we'll receive in March. That's the end of my report. Thank you for your report. Are there questions or comments on this? No. Thank you. Good job. This brings us to number 11, committee report. 11.1, Councillor Dusa. For the construction for November 2022, there was 11 permits that were given for a construction of 100 and compared to 23 that have a value of 2,316,773. Up to now, after 11 months, if we compare, there are 253 permits, which was a total of 14,059,800 for 2022, and in 23, 216 permits that were for a total of 18,973,823. Almost 5 million difference, so we're doing well this year. Thank you for this. Are there any questions on this? 11.2, waste check, Councillor Devoe. Thank you, Mr. Warden. We did not have a meeting since my last report, but I wanted to talk a bit about the waste check, just to say that in the other month, a few of us, the policy committee of waste check, we did a tour of Valley Recycling in Kenville, that's where we send our blue bags. We wanted to see how it works, so we went on site. There were 5 or 6 of us who went. It was nice to see how it works. It's a big building with a lot of belts and blue bags are emptied with a tractor, so everything is sorted. So the mechanical opens the bags, then it goes on the belt, and then there's people who sort the items that was in the blue bags on this moving belt. Just to go back a bit, there's a reason why we have two blue bags. Some of them with the containers. This is the plastic, which includes the milk cartons. People are saying, why is this made in paper? It's because it is a container, so it goes in the blue bag of the containers. So it was hard for people who work on these belts when the blue bags are not like they should be. So if it's plastic and paper in the same blue bags, they have to take out. It's more difficult for them to sort. But it was impressive to see how it worked for us. The manager who was on site, just to see how the people of Clare are not perfect, but they told us that Clare had the best blue bags in the area. They can tell when the blue bags of Clare around the workers can tell when these bags come from Clare. Sometimes they have to remove a few things, but it's not often. So I was there with other regions there, and they didn't talk quite as well for the other regions. But we're never perfect. If we can do better, it's even better. So we have the best comments for the blue bags. I saw why we sort one in plastics and the other in paper. It gives them less work. Another thing that I'd like to make clear is when if you put an ad on Clare Shopper that in November there will be, they talked about the blue bags on this ad. People started to think that there was a change in November. It is not a change, it was just a reminder to the public that we should try to better recycle the blue bags, put the paper in one and the other recyclables in a separate blue bag. Nothing changed. It was just to remind people about that. Many people thought that there was a change coming up, but that was not the case. It was only a reminder on how to separate the recycle. The change that's coming, it's April 4th. There will no more black bags allowed. That's the big change that's coming up just in April 1st. The change will be in April, as we have already discussed before. Another point to remind public is that in winter I would ask people to try to, for the green carts, when they're empty, to try to remove them from the side of the road at the earliest possible, because when there's snow and snow plows, it breaks them and it costs us big money. If some of them dumped them and it's frozen, it is for people who want it. You can put the compost in paper bags inside the green cart, and when they dump it, it dumps the whole thing. There's nothing that freezes in the cart itself. So we recommend that the people would use these paper bags to put the compostable material. That's all for tonight. Thank you. Any questions or comments on this? It's good to see that we're blue bag models here in Clare. It's too bad
It's
that
too
they don't
bad
make a
that-
contest for the whole province.
We should have a contest to encourage the people. We are up to 11.3, the Police Advisory Board for the police, Councillor Comeau. The committee met on December the 5th with the Sergeant Jeff LeBlanc and Corporal Vincent Lacroix. The notes are in English, so I will do this in English.
And theft. The investigations are ongoing. Arrests have been made. Hopefully they're not done yet. Hopefully the vandalism is done, but more arrests to come. Case is evolving. RCMP is pursuing other leads. There's more information to process. The RCMP's responsibility has been, Sergeant LeBlanc has conveyed this message to the business owners that their responsibility is not to prevent break-ins, but rather to seek out the individuals and catch them in the act. A news release you may have seen on social media has been issued. The RCMP is being careful not to divulge too much information. Of course, the more information they divulge, the more of an advantage they'll have, these people committing these crimes, right? Surveillance videos have been reviewed, and they've met with many of the business owners to review those videos. At the moment, focus is on prevention and solving these break-ins. And the question was raised, has there been any change in focus on drug activity and stuff like that? However, their strategy remains unchanged at the moment. With regards to an RCMP liaison, which would mean an RCMP officer would work with schools and try and deal with issues and concerns that the parents have with all sorts of unacceptable things that are going on in schools. So actually, Sergeant Jeff LeBlanc is going to look in what that role is and who to contact so that we can make an application to the province, because they're the funders of that position. There's one in Argyll and one in Digby, but we don't have one in Clare. I'll go through the notes, maybe it may add a bit more information. School resource officers assist in the coordination and implementation of programs regarding crime prevention, intervention, victim services, police community relations, and multiculturalism. They also liaise with the public, media, federal, provincial, and municipal law enforcement agencies and detachments. These positions are paid for by the province, not by municipal units. Often the role is tailored to the needs of the school. At present, Digby, Yarmouth, and Argyll have such a position paid for the province. École de Secondaire de Clare does not. Clare has a member paid for by the province dedicated to street crime unit. So Officer Mario Goujon currently offers this service to Argyll and could potentially offer same services to our schools in Clare. Sergeant LeBlanc will follow up and report back to the CAO, as I previously mentioned. In the meantime, RCMP members from the Metegan detachment remain open to going to the high school on a case-by-case basis as requested. On the subject of drug prevention, Sergeant LeBlanc will also look into the former DARE program, why it was abandoned, and what, if any, program took its place. With regards to the home invasion and concession, there's no new developments. Hopefully, we meet every 3 months quarterly, so hopefully we will have good news, or at least an update on that situation. The corporals indicated that they stay in contact with the family members. The RCMP submitted a report It was presented by Corporal LeBlanc. Corporal LeBlanc, it should be Sergeant LeBlanc. presented a report summarizing incident statistics from January 1st to November 30th for both 2022 and 2023. And it showed that assaults have increased to 39 in 2023 from 27 from the previous year. Uttering threats increased to 45 this year compared to 30 in 2022. Break and enter, of course, there was an increase to 12 this year from 4 in 2022. Theft under 5,000 has increased 44 this year from 26 in 2022. And roughly 75% of these cases involve repeat offenders, because we asked the question, are they often the same people? And they said yes. So anyway, that's så säger Morapau.
That is my report. Any questions or comments on the report? We cannot hear the comments. On January the 1st to November 30th for 2022 and 2023. Thank you for that. So that concludes the reports. We are up at item 12 under new business. We need a motion to appoint a returning officer for the school and municipal elections 2024. If you remember, at the beginning of the month, at the December 6th meeting, Pam Doucette, Pam Doucette has been a returning officer. She made a presentation in preparation for the school and municipal elections for 2024 to talk about the process, the main dates, and the motions we need to pass in preparation for the elections coming up in October. So at the meeting, based on Pam's presentation, we decided to go take a lead and pass a few motions just to have these done. And the first one is to nominate a returning officer. It was my recommendation that because of Pam's experience in municipal elections, that we name Pam Doucette as Director of Returning Officer for the elections in 2024. Questions or comments? Councillor Gadet, ready to make the motion? I move that the council for the municipality of the district of Clare appoint Pam Doucette as returning officer for the 2024 municipal and school board elections. Moved by Councillor Gadet, seconded by Councillor Comeau. All those in favor? Against? Motion carried. 12.2. A motion to select a type of elections for 2024. The second recommended motion from Pam Doucette's presentation was the type of elections we want for 2024. We have a choice of having an election that is purely paper ballots, or to have an election that is purely electronic, or the third option would be essentially a hybrid election that allows us to have paper ballots and an electronic part of it. You can vote by telephone, by internet, or come here on election day to fill in a ballot. Traditionally, the municipality of Clare has hybrid elections, and that is Mrs. Doucette's election as well as mine, and I am recommending it here tonight. Questions or comments on this? Councillor DeVoe? I would like to make the motion. I move that the council for the municipality of the district of Clare have a hybrid election with electronic voting during the advance polls from October 12, 2024 up to and including October 19, 2024, and the paper ballots on election day, October 29, 2024. Moved by Councillor DeVoe, seconded by Councillor Arcamo. All those in favor?
A motion to give delegate authority to the CEO for the tariff and fees of the election expenses. This is essentially a motion, the third motion that came out of Mrs. Duce's presentation, and it gives me the authority to fix the tariffs and fees for the election expenses to the fees that will be given to the people who participate in the election process. It's only an administrative formality for me, which is something that we ask us to do. So if you agree with this, it's to delegate to me the authority to fix these, to create the tariffs and fees for the election expenses. Somebody, Conseiller Como. I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare delegate approval authority to the CAO to create the tariff of fees and election expenses. Proposed by Conseiller Como, seconded by Conseiller Como. All those in favor? Motion carried. For the motion to increase the commercial tipping fees at the Clare transfer station. Thank you. This is when Mrs. Chef spoke to us about the tipping fees at the transfer station for the private sector. Essentially, our tipping fees have not been revised for the past few years, and if we look at the operational expenses, we are operating at a deficit now. So the recommendation of Madame Chef and also my would be to see what we looked at what was charged at the neighboring communities and in Queens, and the recommendation is that we increase the tipping fees as presented in the 145 metric tons for garbage, 145 metric tons for recyclables, $100 metric ton for sorted construction debris, and $200 for metric ton for unsorted construction debris. So that these increases will start at April 1st, 2024. These new tariffs, we're still operating now at a loss. We're just trying to find the middle ground that will allow us to increase our revenues and present something that is still reasonable and that can be absorbed by the private sector. So we looked at when we look at what was charged elsewhere, we are still lowered by quite a bit comparatively to what is being done elsewhere. So we don't want to make a big change in the coming fiscal year with our. So I think we have this motion will be kind of a just balance. So we'd like to present the motion this evening so that we can give our businesses that will be affected by this increase to adjust their pricing for the upcoming fiscal year. Somebody new, Councillor Como. I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare increase its commercial tipping fees to the following as of April 1st, 2024. $145 per metric ton for garbage, $145 metric ton for recyclables, $100 metric ton for sorted construction debris and $200 per metric ton for unsorted construction debris. Proposed by Councillor Cameron, seconded by Councillor Potier. Motion carried. One motion to purchase a radar sign, speed sign. This was based on discussions we had with the RCMP and the members of the committee, consultative committee with the RCMP to look at the possibility of buying this radar panel to speed sign. It's just to try to solve speeding problems at different places in the municipality, and to have something that's mobile. The other aspect that encourages us is also to do traffic counts if we want to help us in discussions regarding Nova Scotia Public Works, if we look at conditions of certain roads to see if there's a lot of people who use the road, etc. So we're seeing this as something that would be beneficial for our community and for the RCMP in this area. I know the municipality in Yarmouth has one, and it turned out to be very beneficial for that in Yarmouth. So our recommendation would be to buy such an item for the municipality of Clare, and then we have operational budget has this in its budget. So we see the people who this would be at a cost of 3,833 plus HST. Anybody ready to make this motion? Councillor DeVoe. Thank you. I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare purchase an Evolution 12 radar speed sign from Absolute Traffic and Sign Solutions Limited in the amount of $3,833 plus HST. Proposed by Councillor DeVoe, seconded by Councillor Como. All those in favour? Motion carried. 12.6. Motion to approve the funding contribution to the Société Historique Acadienne de la Baie-Sainte-Marie. As I mentioned in my report, we helped the Société Historique to present a grant application to the at the beginning. This project would involve amelioration for the chapel and the cemetery, but discussing with the project to Bellevos Cove and people who were giving funds, we had to remove this part of the project because of the eligibility. This being said, we would always be there in future projects that would be to help them to find some. So we think that the Sustainable Communities Challenge Fund is a good way to. It's a good way to face the climate resilience, to increase the resilience of this historic point. We judge that this is a cultural and historical heritage important for the municipality of Clare. That's why we want to help the volunteers of La Société Historique. We're talking about this would be a project that's 151,000, but the sustainable, we ask for 80%, which is the maximum that would be. So the Société Historique to the Acadian was happy to put 2,000 towards this project, and it's not a high amount, but it's a voluntary association. So the balance of the province what I'm asking you tonight would be for, and I know we have already discussed this earlier or last month, is to formalize our discussion and approve the contribution of $28,994, which would be the balance that we need to balance the budget. We're talking of a contribution of 18% of the total value of the province. So we're this is one of the reasons that it's the importance, cultural and historical importance, and also thirdly it's something that we'll be able to incorporate in our budgets next year, because if we do the amount tonight, but this will come out in the next year's budget, so there will be no impact on this year's budget.
So if we are approved, we will not start the work before the fall or early summer. So that's what I'm asking tonight. It's just a motion to approve a contribution towards the project of the Historical Society for the amount of $28,994. Questions or comments on this? I'll make the motion. I move that the council for the municipality of the District of Clare contribute $28,994 to the Historical Society of La Baie-Sainte-Marie in support of its application to the Sustainable Communities Challenge Fund for improvements to the Acadian Cemetery and Chapel at Majors Point. Moved by Councillor Doucet, seconded by Councillor DeVoe. All those in favor? Against? Motion is carried. 12.7, a motion to award a tender excavation services at the Clare Transfer Station. Every year in our operation budgets, we include a small amount for the excavation services at our transfer station. That's for the materials that help us to sort them. It's not something that can be done by hand. You need an excavator to do it. So what we do usually, we have an invitational tender, because the amount that we are looking at for the money that's involved, we invite the companies of the area to send us a tender for the necessary work. For this year, we did the same thing. We received a total of 5 tenders, all reputable companies from the municipality and close one to the other. So we had an embarrassing choice to make, but we took the lowest amount, which is Spec Resources Inc., for the amount of $4,875 plus HST. So for this evening, I ask you to pass a motion to accept this tender from Spec Resources Inc. Questions or comments on this? Anybody wish to make the motion? Councillor Godin. I move that the municipality of the District of Clare award the tender for excavation services at the Clare Transfer Station to Spec Resources Inc. in the amount of $4,875 plus HST. Moved by Councillor Godin, seconded by Councillor Comeau. Are you ready for the vote? All those in favor? Against? Motion is carried. 12.8, motion to purchase a pump for the Bellevaux Cove wastewater treatment plant. The pump at the Bellevaux Cove wastewater plant stopped working. It doesn't work anymore, so the service in Church Point uses 2 pumps, so we took one from there for Bellevaux Cove. So both systems are working, but there was no problem. It's a temporary solution. We need a new pump for Bellevaux Cove, so we contacted our supplier for this, Xylem Canada LT for an amount of $7,894.42 plus HST. For now, it's something. The pumps are working, and we borrowed one to put at another, but it's not something we can do for very long. So I would ask a motion this evening to allow us to purchase this pump from Xyland. And the next fiscal year, we will look at having one or two extra in case, if ever there was an urgency. I would say that this time we could find a quick solution. The plants had not seen any difference, but it can cause problems. So for the immediate problem is to buy one, and next year we'd look at two to have handy as needed. Any questions or comments? Anybody want to make the motion? Councillor Doucet? I move that the council for the municipality of the District of Clare purchase a new pump for the Barivos Cove wastewater treatment plant from Xylem Canada LP in the amount of $7,894.42 plus HST, and that these funds be taken from the municipality's Canada Community Building Fund Reserve. Moved by Councillor Doucet, seconded by Deputy Warden Pache. All those in favor? Against? Motion is carried. So we are up to 12.9. It's a letter to send a letter regarding the abandoned boats. We know we have a problem with the boats that are abandoned in the area, and certain places in the municipality where it is more evident than others. The wharf in Comoville is the one that comes to mind first, and I hear it from the residents, and I hear it from the businesses also, but it's not interesting for anyone. And speaking with Transport Canada and Coast Guard, I know they are responsible for to investigate the situation. They have programs in place to help with the cost to get rid of these boats. The problem, according to me, is to have access, or before they physically remove those boats to get rid of them, they have to find the owner and make arrangements with the owner so that he or she gets rid of it at their cost. But it's not always easy to find the owner in cases like this. Sometimes they don't want to be found. So I think that's one of the problems, and that's why these situations take a long time to solve. Talking to the Deputy Ronnie LeBlanc, he discussed this with his federal colleagues. There seems to be a little disconnect with the nature of the problem and the communication. So we had a discussion, and he suggested that it was suggested to him that if the municipality can have a letter sent to really address the problem or note the problem, to identify the challenges, frustrations, etc., that could be useful for the person in Ottawa. It is someone who is in the hierarchies of Transport Canada, but it would be my recommendation, if you agree, that we send a letter to Deputy LeBlanc or send it directly to Transport Canada to try at least to bring attention from Ottawa to this problem. The local agents from Transport Canada and the Coast Guard have a presence here in the community. They were here yesterday to look at the boat that right here, but it's not their lack of effort, it's the criteria of the province that limits what they can do. So if we can have a dialogue with the department or the responsibles of the department, there might be something that can be done to accelerate the process. That's what I would like to do. I think you hit it on the spot. But if he thinks there's a door that we can knock at to solve the problem, and does anybody wish to make the motion that we send a letter? It's a problem that we've had for a long time, and I would like to make the motion that we send a letter to start the ball rolling. Moved by Councillor DeVoe, seconded by Conseiller Camo. All those in favor? Against? Motion is carried. So that brings us to item 13, the in-camera session. There are two items, 13.1 contract negotiations and 13.2 personnel matters. Before I ask for a motion, the date and the hour of our next meeting will be January 17th, 2024. That being said, I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everybody on the air on behalf of the council. And that's it. So we need a motion to go in camera, moved by Councillor Doucet, seconded by Councillor Conseiller Como. All those in favor? Against? Motion carried.